Nick, good to see you again. I'm not sure that you were ever entitled to a winter fuel payment. What do you make of this change that we've been promised by the Labour Party?
Several things. First thing is they never told anybody they were going to do this during the general election campaign. Came as a surprise to everybody. A few years ago, they were criticised the Tories for thinking about doing this, and suddenly they do it themselves. So let's move away from, is it the right thing or the wrong thing to do? That's a different discussion. Let's look at this politically. You don't stop your enemies from making mistakes. And that's exactly what Labour are doing now. They're making mistakes. Any pensioner now who dies at any winter over the next couple of years, this Labour government and Keir Starmer is going to be held accountable in the press, on social media and in the pub that he killed that person by removing their winter fuel allowance. I really can't believe they've done it, especially for the amount of money it costs, 1.25 billion. It sounds a lot, but it's nothing in the grand scheme of things. We were giving 12 billion away to Africa to tackle climate change, for God's sake. So I just think it's a huge own goal. And I think the day that happened in Parliament was the day Labour lost the next election.
That's 2 months into the Labour administration. Let me quote to you, Nick, from the Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner. These are her words. Theresa May confirm that 10 million pensioners will lose their winter fuel payments if the Tories are re-elected. She said that, I think, about 5 years ago, or maybe it'd been 7 years ago, quite obviously trying to frighten the public into thinking the Tories would remove the winter fuel payment. And they've done exactly that. When she was challenged on this, she said, since then, we've had Liz Truss's disastrous budget and we've got a £22 billion black hole. You just said it yourself, Nick. 12 billion to Africa to deal with a non-existent climate emergency. 3 billion a year to a war that can't be won by the West. That's 15 billion. Why do they think we're so stupid that we can't add 12 billion and 3 billion and realise that's 3/4 of this imaginary black hole, which they've created largely by giving big payouts to their pals?
They tell us these porkies because they know through experience that most of us are stupid, that most of us have a short-term memory, that most of us will forget about this come the next election. And that's what every government and every politician does. And because we live in a democracy, we need to take some responsibility here. I'm tired of us always blaming politicians when we're the ones who elect them and we're the ones who put them into power. And then we put the same people back into power. We need to start being different, voting differently, and taking some responsibility about the state of the country and the information we're being given.
Now, you clearly aren't planning to vote Labour next time. In terms of this winter fuel allowance, you've just made a very interesting point, and let's go back to that. When pensioners die, and pensioners will always die in the cold weather, but when they die, it's going to be pretty much impossible for the Labour Party to absolve themselves of guilt. I saw some story that 4,000 pensioners would have been predicted to die if the Tories had brought banned or scrapped the winter fuel allowance for 10 million. That figure must be the same for Labour, isn't it?
That figure came out of a Labour commissioned report that they commissioned to hold the Tories to account when there was rumours that they were going to do it. So the Labour report that says 4,000 pensioners are going to die if we remove this. Well, what's changed? I'd like them to tell me what's changed in that time period that makes those 4,000 pensioners now not going to die. This is just, I don't understand why they've done it. Aren't Labour in enough problems at the moment? Keir Starmer is the most unpopular PM ever. His ratings have crashed, no honeymoon period. We all think he's Stalin now, the way he's cracked down on free speech. Don't they have enough problems? And then on top of that, how many times, you've heard this more than me, how many times have you heard Labour politicians, Labour MPs on TV talking about how kind, compassionate, tolerant they are and I'm not a Tory supporter, by the way. I think Tories have been incompetent for 14 years. They deserve to be punished at the last election. But Labour MPs are always talking about how kind we are, we're for the people. And how many of those Labour MPs voted against this in Parliament? And the answer is one. One Labour MP had the courage to go, I'm not for this. All the other MPs who didn't like it all had dentist appointments, all had to go see the chiropodist, all had an emergency at A&E. They all had an excuse not to turn up in Parliament and vote. They're worse than the people who actually voted for this because they're just cowards. And when they go back to their constituencies this weekend, I hope that people in those areas hold them to account and say, you've been lying to me for decades and you're just like the rest of them, except you're a coward as well.
Let me read to you Angela Rayner's grammatically illiterate response when she was pressed on this. She said, because we saw when the economy went out of control that damaged and impacted on pensioners the most because they're on their fixed income and interest rates have a real impact on pensioners. I mean, leaving aside the fact she's not going to win a literary award for that, she's actually basically saying, Nick, we're going to take the winter fuel payment away because pensioners are worse off. I mean, what's wrong with her?
And do you know what else she's not going to do as well? What she's not going to do is look at MPs claiming claiming their heating bills for their second homes. So they're not looking at that. So MPs who voted to remove this from pensioners, and again, I'm not saying if pensioners should or should not get this benefit. That's a different discussion. But if you're going to vote for people to be poorer, while you as an MP are claiming the heating bills from your second home, not your first home, your extra home you have that the taxpayer pay for you. I mean, talk about hypocrisy. Talk about not being able to read the room and understand the average person and not understand how this looks down the pub.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Nick Buckley. We can huddle together as we suffer the slings and arrows of the non-climate emergency winter, which already has brought snow to Scotland. That's a whole different story. That's Nick Buckley there.
Did you enjoy that video? I think you did. Come on now, hit that bell, subscribe, comment. Let's build this channel. I need more followers. I need more subscribers. Be part of the journey. See you soon.